Welcome to the next episode of the Ag+Bio+Science podcast. It is presented by AgriNovus Indiana and Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gerry Dick, the host of Inside Indiana Business, also the host of this weekly podcast where we have in-depth conversations with leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs in Indiana's ag-bioscience sector, the sector where food, agriculture, science, and technology converge. Now, to give you a bit of a behind the scenes, a magic, if you will, in the making of this podcast, I want to share with you that we normally record these podcasts each month at Launch Fishers and bring 4 guests in at a time. This week, for the first time in creating this podcast, we will be recording this and our next several episodes virtually as we all come together and do our part in the fight against COVID-19. While we will continue to produce this podcast and have insightful conversations with ag-bioscience leaders, it's also felt timely to have our next guest join us to share in how Indiana's life sciences sector is stepping up in an impactful and very innovative way during this time of uncertainty. And we're honored this week to have with us Patty Martin. Patty is the president and CEO of BioCrossroads. And Patty, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Happy to be here, Gerry.
Well, first of all, and certainly BioCrossroads, of all of the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership initiatives, I believe is the oldest. I think it was one of the first of that grouping. But give us just a thumbnail sketch of BioCrossroads and its really its mission.
So BioCrossroads, you're in fact correct, Gerry, was the first of the initiatives that support CICP. We were founded in 2003. With the result of a Battelle report that really talked about the importance of the life science sector for the growth in the economy of the state of Indiana. And so BioCrossroads was founded as the first branded initiative to promote and grow the state of Indiana through education, communication. We have a seed fund and a number of other initiatives that connect and promote the sector, which is really one of the strongest for the state of Indiana.
Before we jump into a little bit more about you and BioCrossroads, I do want to touch base on BioCrossroads' response to COVID-19. Certainly, Indiana has a very strong and vibrant life sciences sector. What are you seeing from this sector and in the state in terms of response and connection to the pandemic?
So, Gerry, it really has been stunning, I think, the response, and it just speaks to perhaps our Midwest roots and certainly the history of the life science sector going all the way back to the founding of Eli Lilly and Company so many years ago. But I'd like to first start with acknowledging the healthcare workers that are on the front of this crisis. I think that we are so indebted to them with our lives. And proud of them and supportive of them and everything that they're doing through all the different hospital systems and healthcare systems throughout the state. Specific to the life science sector as it relates to the corporations, certainly Eli Lilly and Company has stepped up dramatically, offering its resources, both laboratories and people, to support COVID testing. And the response to that has been dramatic. Interestingly enough, my son works for Lilly, and he has volunteered a couple of times for the testing effort. And we're so thankful for them to step in and support. And just to speak to the state of Indiana's response, I think you know, Gerry, that Lilly decided to add testing of non-symptomatic folks to see if they could do a baseline of those not demonstrating any of the symptoms of the disease. And they needed 3,000 people for the testing of that asymptomatic arm. And my understanding is, if I'm not mistaken, 150,000 people reached out to be a part of the testing. So it speaks to just the whole support of the state of Indiana when it comes to helping out Hoosiers. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, beyond Lilly, we've had great response from our healthcare systems. Certainly IU Health, Community, Franciscan, or Ascension, I should say, have been supportive, and our universities are stepping up. Purdue converting laboratories to assist with testing. Butler is also studying additional COVID responses. And we have, thankfully, and this was actually a spin out from Indiana, from BioCrossroads, the Indiana Health Information Exchange, otherwise known as IHI, is working with Regan Streif and FSSA and other data organizations to provide the modeling required so that they can predict how this virus is going to progress. And now that we're managing through the initial stages of managing the surge of the disease, they're turning their attention to modeling to support our social services organizations, so helping them predict how they're going to be able to help Hoosiers as this continues to progress. The good news is we've worked to contain the virus. The downside of that is we're probably in for a longer battle, and folks are going to require a lot more support.
Hmm. So in a sense, based on what you just said and the incredible outreach in the life sciences community, the state response, personal protective equipment that the IEDC has really spearheaded, I guess you could say this crisis, this tragedy has really been shining a light on the assets that are in the state of Indiana when it comes to life sciences in the sector.
That's absolutely right, Gary. I think that BioCrossroads has been, since its inception, intended to be a connector and a convener, and we're doing everything we can to play that role. And what we're hoping is that as we move out of this crisis, we come out even stronger
Mhm.
as a sector, because working together, whether it be universities with hospitals or hospitals with corporations, corporations with our universities, and surrounding that, all of our spectacular philanthropic support, we really think that we have the opportunity for the sector to come out stronger and demonstrate its importance to the vitality of the state of Indiana.
Yeah. Recently, Governor Holcomb, Eli Lilly and Company, and others announced a campaign, In This Together. It has been shared far and wide. And I know BioCrossroads was involved in putting together a really cool video as well that was shared on this topic. But in your view, this In This Together, this campaign, as you look at it, what's the importance of the campaign?
You know, the importance of the campaign is really bringing everything together and getting everyone communicating and on the same page. It's the opportunity that we have for some personal accountability, to hold each other accountable for ensuring that we are in it together. And I think also with the pressure that our legislators, our governor, and certainly Dr. Box and the Indiana State Department of Health are undergoing, anything that we can do to bring the state of Indiana together to support those efforts, and be literally all in it together,
Mhm.
can do nothing but raise all boats.
Let's turn now to a little bit more on BioCrossroads and you. When you were selected as CEO of the organization, I know a lot of people, including myself, thought you were really the right pick, the perfect pick for that job. As you looked at your background and your experience, talk a little bit about your path to this role at BioCrossroads.
So I have been engaged in the life science sector pretty much my entire career. I am a native Hoosier, by the way. I hark from Wabash, Indiana. But after 26 years at Lilly, I took a reprieve, and I followed BioCrossroads for a very long time. The initial chairperson of BioCrossroads was a mentor of mine at Lilly, Gus Watanabe. And Dr. Watanabe was someone who I channel every day with his energy and spirit to do everything we can for the state of Indiana. And so when this position became available, and I was honest with myself that the intersection of life sciences and the state of Indiana is someplace that I'd like to spend the next phase of my career, I was delighted that I was offered the position.
Talk about some of the signature projects. There are so many, but at BioCrossroads, to give people an idea of really, again, that mission, that focus, some of the things that BioCrossroads is doing to really make a difference.
So we have a number of strategic pillars that we operate in. We convene, we connect, we collaborate, and we communicate. And I think one of the differences of BioCrossroads, or one of its unique capabilities, is that we really like to ground our positions in research. And so we've done a number of white papers and reports over the years that have helped provide facts in this
Mhm.
time when sometimes facts appear to be optional, so that we can put forward an argument for what we think would be the best thing for the sector. And reminder, harkening back to when BioCrossroads was first started, our life science sector has been alive and well for a great many years. The opportunity BioCrossroads had was to bring the different elements, disparate elements of our sector together so that the whole could be greater than the sum of the parts. And so we base our positions and our recommendations on research. And those research reports, by the way, are available on our website at biocrossroads.com. And coming out of those reports, we would have a number of recommendations. I'm just going to mention two to give it, and then see, Gerry, where you'd like to go with the conversation. But one of the things that came out of BioCrossroads actually was that Indiana Health Information Exchange, the opportunity to take electronic health records and connect them across the state, put Indiana in a very unique position of sharing those records, so that if you were a patient in Indianapolis but happened to get sick up in South Bend or down in Evansville, it could track you. And that has proven to be incredibly valuable over these last weeks and months as we try to really understand the pandemic in the state of Indiana. Another would be IBRI, which is the Indiana Bioresearch Institute. We supported the formation of that entity to really connect our marvelous research universities here in the state, specifically Indiana, the IU School of Medicine, Purdue, and Notre Dame, with our industry partners from the state, whether it's Cook or Lilly or up north in our ortho section of the state, trying to make sure that the resources that we have at our academic institutions are connected with our commercialization institutions on the other side. And that entity is alive and well today, and actually will be one of the anchor tenants of 16 Tech, which we could talk about separately.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that now. In terms of 16 Tech, really a major project, live, work, play development, a talent play in many respects on the near west side, West 16th Street, near the old Busch Stadium, for folks around Indianapolis who might know where that is. But give us the bottom line opportunity that comes with 16 Tech.
So the bottom line opportunity is that in other cities around the country, what you see is a real opportunity, as you said, to make those connections of live, work, play. And you have real interaction and innovation that happens when people can just convene or bump into each other. And Indianapolis has not had that kind of a piece of real estate. I mean, I lived at and worked at Lilly, lived and worked for 26 years down on McCarty Street. And while we interacted with each other, in fact, a lot of the work that got done was walking from the parking garage to your desk because you were sort of on the horizontal. Same thing here. The opportunity is to have entrepreneurs and innovators interacting with more with larger, more established companies, and see what that soup or whatever, gumbo, whatever you want to call it, could present. So this will be our first building is skinned in right now. It's getting HVAC. I believe that's still considered mission critical and allowed. So we will be moving in over the weekend of 4th of July and start to bring life to this really great piece of real estate and be able to be connected across the river back over to IU School of Medicine and IUPUI, and to all of our other entities that are downtown.
Very big and very important project, certainly for the city and the state of Indiana. Patty, final question for you, and that's the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership, CICP. In so many ways, the Center for Strategy and Collaboration for Indiana. And as you look at the opportunity for cross collaboration, there are a lot of people who say, listen, it's going to reach its full potential only when there is this cross collaboration between organizations like BioCrossroads and AgriNovus. Talk about the potential, the future opportunities for collaboration across sectors.
So I think that's really important, Gerry, because we've had these branded initiatives evolve over time, BioCrossroads being the first. And all of us were focused predominantly in our vertical of considering what was most important and strategic for our particular sector. And now, as you see data, artificial intelligence, robotics, and you see the intersections of tech and manufacturing and life sciences and ag tech come together, where we think Indiana is really uniquely positioned because of our manufacturing base and breadth in these different sectors to really, again, get the most bang for the buck in efforts to try to collaborate in a way that cross-fertilizes across the sectors. And we're excited about it. I think what's been really interesting, again, using recent weeks as a demonstration project, I think that the CICP organization, in its COVID response and convening of its members, has been able to connect our life science sector with our healthcare providers, with our manufacturers, and our legislators and government entities to get the word out and share best practices. Again, hoping that those relationships and that connectivity continues to grow even once we're through this crisis. So we're particularly, I'm honored to be on an AgriNovus podcast today. I think that the synergy between ag tech and life sciences and biotech is an obvious one, and we're thrilled to be partnering with them. And then I think it's, as the digital economy and technology all convene, I think you're going to see more crossover than less as we go forward.
Patty Martin is the president and CEO of BioCrossroads. Patty, thanks for being with us on the podcast this week, for providing some great perspective on the COVID crisis facing the state of Indiana and the important role that BioCrossroads is playing in our state. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Gerry.
All right. And thank you for joining us on this edition of the Ag+Bio+Science podcast. It is a weekly production partnership between AgriNovus Indiana and Inside Indiana Business. Also, keep up to date with AgriNovus by following them on Twitter and Instagram at AgriNovusIN. You can also find AgriNovus on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Also, don't forget to leave us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts so we can share ag bioscience stories like this one with more and more people. Thanks for joining us this week. I'm Gerry Dick, and remember, Indiana, we're all in this together.